Hi, everyone. Welcome to our NU in Italy information session, our Know Before You Go webinar. We are going to be getting started in just a few minutes. We're going to give folks time to trickle in a little bit. All right. It's time to get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the NU in Italy Know Before You Go webinar. We are so excited to have you all joining us this fall in Italy, in Rome. I'm with two of our team members, Louise and Molly, who are going to be telling you all about what you need to know to be prepared for your fall semester today. Just a few quick housekeeping pieces. This webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded on our International First Year Programs YouTube channel for you to rewatch as needed. You're also going to be able to watch it in the Canvas courses, as well as make sure you attest to us that you have watched it because we want to make sure you know all of this information before you leave for your semester in Italy. We're also using the Q&A function today. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A. We are here to answer any questions that you might have to make sure you are feeling ready to go. All right, so let's get started. To quickly cover what we're going to be talking about today, our next slide. We're going to be introducing you to a few folks on our team and giving you an overview of the NU in Italy program. We're going to be talking through some pretty essential pieces like academics or preparing for your semester abroad. We're going to be covering some health and safety topics, and then we'll be talking about what you need to think about looking ahead and your action steps before you leave for Italy in just a couple short weeks. To introduce all of us, before I pass it off, my name is Alana Christopher. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an assistant director on the NUN team working with our NU in Italy site. And I'm going to pass it off to Louise to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Some of you might have already met me during the weekend in Boston where we were on site. My name is Louise Neary Kennedy. I'm the program manager and have been for the last 5 years. I'm going to pass it on to my colleague Molly to introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Molly. It's nice to meet you all. I'm the assistant program manager, and I'm an American who's been living in Italy for a while. So I'm excited to see all of you all on site.
All right, so we're going to get cracking introducing the rest of our larger team. This year, we have a group of 8 program coordinators who are on site with us to help manage our cohort this year. They're definitely our boots on the ground. They're the first responders to our students' queries, questions, and emergencies. This year, our staff are a perfect blend of Italian, South African, American. So we have a lot of great folks this year. We have Valentina, Pamela, Megan, Riccardo, Cosimo, Nada, Emma, and Alice, and they're going to be looking after our students in groups of what we call family groups, about 23 to 25 students per group. So our students will be getting to know them once they arrive and have already probably heard from them today, actually, as they sent out an introductory email to their family groups. So let's dive right in and see what the NUN program looks specifically for Italy, for the Rome site. Students are going to be studying at John Cabot University, or as we all say, JCU. That'll be the acronym on the tip of your tongue for this semester. JCU is a private American university in Rome, founded in 1972, and it hosts students from all over the world. JCU prides itself on the diversity that it has in Rome, offering study abroad programs, but also degrees to students, all through English. So it's possible to get a fully fledged American university degree in the heart of the Eternal City. We've been a partner with Northeastern University since 2017. So this program has been running very successfully since that date. So we're a well-oiled machine at this level. So this is another exciting year for us where we get to put all those skills and experience, put the foot to the floor when it comes to this program. So definitely proud partners with Northeastern. What to expect when you come to Rome? I mean, a lot of people I'm sure have probably visited Rome, and if they haven't, they know all about this very particular city. It's the capital of Italy with over 2 million people resident there. There is obviously a high emphasis on culture and the arts. I mean, it's the cradle of our Western civilization, but also the home of so many amazing movements in art throughout world history. History is on every single corner of the city, and art blooms in every single corner as well. So it's one of the most unique places, in my opinion, that students could do their study abroad semester. Our students will be particularly living in a quintessentially Roman neighborhood called Trastevere, which maybe many of you have been pronouncing Trastevere or Trastevere. But Trastevere is one of the most special neighborhoods in Rome because it still preserves so much of, that old Rome with the cobblestones, the washing hanging out on the line, all those things that make an Italian experience super Italian. So this is going to be, yeah, our students will be part of this social fabric. So not a bad place to do your first semester of university. When it comes to housing, this is another very particular point, considering that our students lived in fully equipped apartments with single, double, or triple rooms. The apartments are exactly that. They mimic typical Italian living. So they have, of course, kitchens, they have a living room, there are bathrooms and bedrooms. So they all have the amenities that students will need to do everything that they would do in a regular house throughout the semester. The kitchens, of course, are shared amongst the roommates. There's a lounge so people, they can hang out, decompress. They don't necessarily need to leave their rooms for that. And there's also a washing machine in the apartment itself. So all the things that our students need to do can be done within the apartment. There's also a fitness center in the Gianicolo residence. So if you've been given an assignment to the Lungara residence, it's like a stone's throw away from there, not even a 5-minute walk. Our staff lives on site. There's weekly cleaning of the common areas, and everything that you need is in the apartment already. So everything you need to cook is there, as well as bedding and towels. So fully fledged apartments ready to move in and get started. So one of the most important parts of the NUN program are the programs itself, which are the backbone, of course, of this very unique and special experience. I'm going to hand it off to Molly to tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Louise. So as part of the NUN program, there are different events that are offered every month. You have 15 to 20 different events that will be offered to you, and they're all free. So I highly recommend getting involved. They're designed specifically for you by the coordinators every semester. So they change a little bit based on our student population and the needs of the students. Sometimes we're doing things that are fun to get to know each other, like a ping pong competition or trivia. Other times we do things to learn skills. We did pizza making classes in the past, or something like coffee tasting, which was really fun. We've gone to the Colosseum, to Vatican museums. So there's a lot of variety in the things that are available. And like I said, they're specifically designed for the students that we have that semester. So last semester, we had a lot of musicians who asked us, they wanted to play instruments and have a show. And so we made that happen. So I definitely recommend all the students to talk to your coordinators about things that you would like to see offered. And then also take the opportunity to try new things. You're in Italy, you get to explore the city and also see if you like something for free before you have to pay for it next time in the rest of your life. Then we also do family dinners. So, as was mentioned, each student will be in a family group with a coordinator. And once a month, you'll go with your coordinator to dinner. Again, you don't have to pay for this dinner. It's a great opportunity to get to know the other students in your family group, talk about what you've discovered in Rome, talk about your classes, talk about the nice cafes around, and get to eat a lot of food. We can visit different types of restaurants as well. So sometimes people want to go to a Roman restaurant to try all of the different typical Roman foods. Other times people feel a little homesick, so they want to go to a Mexican Tex-Mex restaurant, and we can make that happen as well. These are really great opportunities to just feel connected and to get an understanding of what's happening with the other students that you might not have classes with or see every day. And then we have the excursions. So while the programs and the family dinners all happen in Rome, in the neighborhood nearby, our excursions are outside of Rome. These are mandatory trips. There are 3 of them that each student will be going on. So pay attention when I say the days because you are expected to be on these trips. You can't be traveling somewhere else or doing something else. The first trip is the end of orientation week on August 29th on the Friday. And that one is to the beach. We're going to Anzio, which, if you know anything about history, is important, but also it's just a beautiful beach. It's the full cohort together. So you'll get to know the other students before you start classes the following Monday. And that one's just very relaxed and enjoy your life on the Mediterranean Sea. Then, excuse me, then on September 12th, half of the students will go on a day trip, and you'll get to go visit a very classic Italian small village, what you have in your mind, like a medieval town. And then after that, we'll go to a dairy farm. So you get to be in nature and be outside. The other half of the students will go on an overnight trip. And that one's also really lovely. There's honey tasting and chocolate tasting and waterfalls. Uh, and then the following week, September 18th, 19th, the students who went on the overnight trip go on the day trip, and the students who went on the day trip go on the overnight trip. You will receive information about which trips you're going on, which day in a little while, in a couple weeks. So make sure to check your email for that information. So you'll be having lots of fun, visiting lots of places, but why are you here in this program? It's for academics. This is an academic program, and you're expected to go to class and learn. At John Cabot, you'll have the full semester of credits. So you'll be taking 4 classes usually. This is decided by the academic advisors, but 4 full credit classes. And then there's an option for a 1 credit class, which a lot of our students participate in. And it's a really nice culture class that helps you really process and develop critical thinking skills related to being abroad. All of these classes are evaluated by Northeastern to make sure that it has the same academic rigor at John Cabot as you would find in Northeastern. So you'll be receiving the same education that somebody who started in Boston will. And you need to pass your classes to receive credit. So make sure that you are paying attention and attending. Your letter grades are included in your GPA. So after this semester, the grades do not go away. They stay with you. But you're very lucky that you're starting in a university that has an American style, but also gives you the opportunity to explore Rome. So we have these local experiential learning courses like Rome and its monuments, where you get to learn about the monuments in Rome, but not in a classroom. You can go and see them as you study them. And that's a very special experience that will set you apart from other people who just learned about it from the books back at home. Okay. Then, as I said, John Cabot is an American university, so it follows US academic culture and standards. You are very lucky, though, because as freshman students, you will start in small classes. Instead of a lecture hall with 200 people, you're 15 to 20 students in a classroom, which gives you a really good opportunity also to interact with your professors. And that is expected of you. You need to participate in your classes and be active in your learning. And to do that, you need to attend your classes, but I'm sure you will because you signed up to be in university. You signed up for this, so you want to be there and you need to be there. You should, however, in the case that you do need to miss a class, make sure that you read the syllabus for each class because there is an attendance policy that changes, and you need to know for your specific professor and that specific class what the attendance policy is. Okay. Then you also will have assessments. You will have multiple chances to show your knowledge. So often there's group projects, class discussion is a part of your grade, then there are assessments, multiple assessments, and a final evaluation. So you have a chance to recover if you make a mistake on one part. There will be more opportunities, but each class, you should set aside approximately 2 hours of preparation for each hour in class. And you do about 3 hours in class, so 6 hours of preparation for each class, more or less. You will have classes from Monday to Thursday. Most classes are twice a week for 1 hour and 20 minutes. This will be communicated to you when you arrive on site. So when you're arriving for orientation, you'll also receive your class schedule, and the academic advisors are working on this. So don't worry. You'll also find out what textbooks that you need when you arrive, and your professors will tell you where you can buy them and what you need to do. So for now, just trust that everything will be ready when you arrive, and then you'll find out. And if you have questions later, we'll deal with those when you arrive. But it's important to notice you also have classes Monday through Thursday. You don't have classes on Friday. So you can use your Friday for all of your schoolwork, for your projects. But like I said before, we have trips in September. So you should assume that you have something to do basically every Friday until October. Then, if you need academic accommodations, I hope that you have already informed John Cabot of this because the deadline was July 1st. However, if you have not and you're panicking right now, just send the documentation and an email right away. We will do our best, but you need to be proactive and you need to tell us as soon as possible, which means like today, please don't delay this. Okay.
All right, thank you, Molly. So moving on to what to expect next, because a departure day is kind of right around the corner. In fact, our students are set to arrive at JCU on August 25th, where orientation week will begin. So that week is going to span all the way to the 30th of August, with, as Molly said, the 29th being our beach day, so where our students can head off, decompress, relax, and spend some time getting to know each other and the student cohort at large. Then on September 1st, classes will start. So this is where, the rubber meets the road, and we're getting knee deep into what this really is all about, which is going to class, getting those credits, transitioning back to university. So from Monday to Thursday, there are classes, as Molly mentioned. But then throughout the semester, there might be some days that, some Fridays, where you will have to attend because of holidays that happen perhaps throughout that semester. Like, for example, on November 27th, this is that Thanksgiving Day. So that day is going to be observed by John Cabot University, meaning you have the day off. But to make up for that day off, they've scheduled a class on Friday, September 26th. So make sure to mark that in your calendars. It's not a travel day. You got to go to class on that one Friday. On December 4th, we have the last day of classes. That'll come around quite quick as well. So too will your assessments, which will take place from the week of December 9th to December 12th, with departure coming up on December 13th. So at a glance, it looks like a bit of a whirlwind, and to be fair, the time goes by really fast. So definitely try to plan as best as possible to enjoy the experience as much as you can in Rome, in Italy, but also to fit in enough time, of course, to be studying and to give yourself the right resources and time to do that. So, a lot of you will probably have signed up for the group flight, and we have some tips and recommendations for that as well. If you haven't already, it's a good idea to enroll in Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, which is something that you can go online and do really, really simply. That's just a good way to, transmit the information of where you're going to be, of where you're going. From here on out, though, it's a really good idea to check your email for information about your flight, about what's coming up, or in case there's any changes. Our staff will be monitoring any delays or changes, so we will be communicating via email to the group of students departing. So make sure that you have your eye on your email for that. If there is any issues during travel, if you miss a connection, if you need to rebook, you know what travel's like. It can be unpredictable sometimes. Don't worry, because you'll be able to reach out to Advantage Travel, who you probably have which you will probably have liaise with up until this point. They're going to be able to assist you further in case there are any issues that come up along the way. You will be picked up at the airport by the staff. So when you arrive in Rome Fiumicino, you'll be picked up there. Our shuttles, they are running throughout the day, meaning that if you arrive a little bit later, you're on a different flight, don't worry about that. You'll be able to take part in our on-ground transportation. There will be JCU staff members outside the airport ready to pick you up. So don't worry about having to find your way on the day. You'll be able to identify us at the airport from early in the morning to 6 p.m. To make yourself known, it's probably a good idea to wear your Northeastern gear, right? It's just a good way for other people turning up at the airport to see who else is in their same situation, who else is on their flight, and for you guys to be able to share the experience together. For independent travelers, we also, of course, encourage you to enroll in STEP. As I mentioned, you'll be able to avail of the ground transportation on the 25th if you arrive before 6 p.m. And again, if you're delayed, no worries. Reach out to us. We'll be able to log that information, understand where you're at, and give you some recommendations about how to navigate getting from the airport to the residence, which is very easy, but you never know. You never know how you might be feeling getting off that plane. So if you need some extra support, we're here to help. In terms of preparing for your journey, it's definitely time to think about packing, which is often one of the most difficult things to do before getting on a plane for this semester, because you're thinking about all the different things that you need to bring. It's so hard to predict, what you're going to need. It's so hard to predict what you're going to buy, what you're going to pick up. But we really encourage you to try and plan it as much as possible, considering that you are only allowed to travel with 2 suitcases, with 2 pieces of luggage when you arrive to John Cabot. You will be fined by the 3rd piece of luggage, because our policy is you can only bring enough luggage that you can carry, okay, throughout orientation. So from the airport to the residence, etc. So that still gives you a good quantity of things that you can bring, and you do need to pack in a certain way to adhere to all the kinds of weather that you're going to experience. When you arrive, it's going to be pretty hot, right? And that'll persist well into October, but by October, the mornings, the evenings, they'll get a little bit chilly, so you'll need a little bit of extra layers. It does rain in Rome. We see a lot of sunshine, but when it rains, it pours. So you'll need the right gear for that as well. You'll need impermeable stuff. You need impermeable shoes, stuff that's going to be practical for days when in rain, the heavens open and it's full on, right? Then coming towards December, it'll get that little bit chillier. It won't be as cold as what you'll see in Boston, I can guarantee you that. But you'll need bits and bobs like that, practical stuff to get through the semester. But consider that you're going to pick up so much stuff along the way. There's things that you simply do not need, which is like bedding and towels, those kind of bulky items. You don't need to bring them. But we do try to mitigate the amount of waste that we see at the end of the semester, and we see an awful lot of waste. We don't want to be throwing stuff away on behalf of students. So if you could help us to champion that cause, that goes an awful long way for us as well. You're also going to want to think about stuff like converters and chargers. We have different plugs in the EU. We even have different plugs amongst EU member states, right? So you'll want a universal converter that's going to work, but you're probably going to want a couple of those for your different appliances. Think about your phone, think about your laptop, think about, I don't know, your hair dryer, things like this. just to make sure that you're comfortable throughout the semester. Another option is maybe buying appliances when you get here, things like hair dryers. They're not too expensive, so you could also have that as something that you may want to consider to do, but just plan for those bits and pieces. You're going to want those things, especially when you arrive. I've already mentioned the weather in Rome, so be mindful of that. Think about what you're coming up against. The layers is probably the best piece of advice that we can give, but just remember that we can get adverse rain as well. So think about what you need for those, what makes you feel most comfortable when it's raining and pouring outside. When it comes to banking and budgeting, be aware that in Italy, we do not accept the US dollar. It is just the euro, okay? Meaning that if you need to, if you're going to bring cash with you, it's best that you convert your cash before you arrive or when you arrive at the airport, but you won't be able to get by the first few hours with US dollars, okay? You might want to notify your bank or your credit card company that you will be traveling. I know nowadays it's pretty automatic for a lot of banks. They take it as a given that the card is with you, but some banks still need you to notify them. Otherwise, they might identify suspect activity and they might block your card. So just be careful of that. You also might want to consider what the transactional fees would be if you were using your card while abroad. So if you wanted to plan to take cash out, maybe how periodically you should do that to avoid very, very large fees. But all of this in general should be discussed with your family, right? You want to make sure that you guys are on the same page about what a budget looks like from week to week or from month to month throughout the semester. This is really personal to you and your family. So you guys know each other best, but some students might need the bare minimum for groceries, and then other students might need that and then some for travel or whatever hobbies they pick up when they're in Italy. So it's just important that you guys are all on the same page and that you're not seen stuck throughout the semester. If you're traveling with prescriptions, it's very important that you plan accordingly also for this. You want to make sure that you're traveling with the original packaging, the original bottles, and the note from the doctor that explains really clearly what this medication is and why you need it. This is something you want to make sure you have in your carry-on because you never know with flights. If you put it in your checked bag, the bag might get lost, and then who knows if you get it back, all that kind of stuff. You don't want to be in a position where you're panicking about things for you which could be vital, right? If at all possible, the best thing to do is get a semester-long supply, if at all possible. But we know that that's not always possible for some drugs, that you don't always get the leeway with a semester-long supply. If that is the case, you'll be able to reach out to us and we can try and guide you as best as possible through what the action plan should be in that case. If we want to look for an equivalent, or in some cases, if you need to plan a trip home to get a refill. But that's something that we can look at together. There's always a solution, so try not to worry too much. If you ship medications from the US, they are not going to arrive in the country. They will be blocked and sent back. So we do not recommend doing this. We've seen this so many times that we're pretty confident in giving this advice. But then there are lots of resources that you can use right now. If you don't know what your medication guidelines are in a different country, that's fine. You could use the Crisis 24 Horizon app, which we'll be speaking about later on as well. Or you could email mytravelplans@northeastern.edu and they'll be able to work with you to understand how that drug is processed in the country that you're going to, so in this case, Italy, and what action steps and plan you might want to have in place before getting on the plane. While it's not required, it is highly suggested that you let someone know who you trust about your medical history, just in case there's things that could really help you out in a bind, in an emergency type situation. You're gonna have to make sure that you have a working phone while you're abroad as well. This is a must. You cannot rely on Wi-Fi while you're in Italy. You cannot rely on Wi-Fi while you're traveling. So you have a couple of options here. You could opt for an international plan with your local provider. I know that this is more and more popular and also more and more functional. Sometimes it can give our students some problems, which is why we still recommend to go with a local SIM card. So getting an Italian SIM, you can do this during orientation week. There's somebody from a large provider called Vodafone who is present on campus, who is selling SIM cards. And so for the semester, it's about 70 euros for the whole entire semester, and that'll get you calls, data, texting, calls to the US. It'll get you everything that you need to get through the semester, not just in Italy, but also while you're traveling in Europe because of our roaming policies and plans throughout the European Union. If you're going to opt for that option, and it is totally up to you what you guys prefer to do, sometimes it's much more cost effective to get the local SIM card, but it really is whatever works best for you. You would need to make sure that your phone is unlocked. Now, this means calling your provider, telling them that you're going to be abroad for this amount of time, and making sure they unlock your phone for a foreign SIM card while you're abroad, because otherwise you're locked into a plan with them and your phone might not work. So you just want to make sure that you have that sorted before you leave, because then in that case you will be forced to get a plan with them, and maybe it might take a while. So just things to have in place so that when you arrive, you're all set, you're ready to go. You don't need to worry about these bits and pieces. We will be collecting your phone number, so whether that's your US number, your international number, or the number of the SIM card that you bought on site, because we're going to be making WhatsApp groups to keep in contact with everybody, so that your family groups can keep in contact. So having a working phone number is mandatory if you want to participate in this program. So we do follow up to make sure we gather those numbers. Very early on, by the first week, this will be something that we make sure that we have settled. One of the most important steps is your immigration requirements. So you being in compliance with the immigration steps while you're in Italy. A lot of you will have applied for a visa, a lot of you will have obtained a visa, and a lot of you are probably just waiting for your visa to arrive. No matter what position you're in, you do have a few tasks to make sure that you are all set before you arrive into Italy, okay? The most important steps are making sure that you upload a copy of your visa and a copy of your passport to the JCU student portal, okay? If you haven't accessed the JCU student portal, you need to do so as soon as possible, because we have mandatory orientation steps on the portal that you are required to do before you arrive in Italy, before you arrive on site. So if you don't do that, the orientation process, the check-in process is going to be considerably longer. And if you don't upload a copy of your passport, the page that has your photo and all your details, as well as your visa, as soon as you get your visa, this step is going to be considerably longer as well, because those who did so will be prioritized because their processing is so much quicker. So please make sure to do these steps as soon as you can. So if you only have your passport now, go ahead, log in, familiarize yourself, and upload that passport. And as soon as you get your visa, go ahead and put the visa in as well. If you have both, do both. Just make sure that it's a step that you do for yourself, not just for us, because it makes such a difference when you arrive. It makes the processing a completely different story. In terms of your compliance for the entire semester, we are going to make sure that you are in compliance while in Italy. So we'll be logging a declaration of presence for you with the local authorities. We'll be making sure that you have a copy of that, which you'll be required to be always with you at all times. So we recommend that students walk everywhere, go everywhere, travel everywhere with a digital copy or a paper copy of their passport and their visa, just in case that you get stopped and ID'd by any authority, both in Italy or throughout your travels in Europe. A word on policies and procedures. You are required to follow all the local laws and would be subject to any local law that there is. So we make sure that you understand the country you're coming to and what the laws look like in that country, even just at a glance. But having a good understanding of that is important for you to understand what the standards are where you're living. You're also required to follow the host institution's policies as well. So in this case, the JCU Student Code of Conduct, the Code of Conduct for University Housing. But on top of that, you're required to follow the Code of Conduct of Northeastern University. And as a participant in the NUN program, you will even have a supplemental Code of Conduct that you are required to follow while you are on site, meaning that you're subject to local laws, you're subject to the JCU Code of Conduct, the Northeastern Code of Conduct, and you as a very special NUN student, you also have more policies that we expect you to adhere to while abroad. It's important for you guys to know that, because We keep a really high standard when it comes to our participation in this program. So we are following these policies very closely because we want our students to be outstanding students. And an outstanding student is not just an academically outstanding student, but it's a student who knows how to adapt, how to get on, and how to get by no matter where they are. And this is ultimately the test of that.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about health and safety. Uh, on site, you'll probably hear me say a million times, I want you to be happy and healthy and safe. You will be happy because you will follow the rules, you will go to our awesome programs, and you'll enjoy your classes. But we're also taking care of your health and safety. So for your health, we have you all enrolled in insurance. You have CISI insurance, and it covers medical expenses while you're in Italy. It's a great plan. It's really comprehensive. So you can feel safe having that. Additionally, we have on campus doctors. So on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 3 to 7, you can go to the doctor completely for free. And then if you need anything, they can write you a prescription or advise that you go visit somebody else, a specialist. There are local hospitals nearby. The hospitals are fantastic. One of the ones that we go to most often is affiliated with the University of Pittsburgh. So they also speak English, and you can really feel confident that you'll get a good level of care there if you need to go. Then we also want to take care of your safety while you're abroad and not in Italy. A lot of you travel, you go other places, and that is fine if you choose to do so. But you need to fill out a travel form before you go on your trip. And this you will have available to you in many, many places. It will be on your Canvas, it will be in the newsletter. So it's definitely your responsibility to fill out this form before you go on a trip. And that's so we know where you are in case of an emergency or something like that. We can provide assistance and so that you know where you're going, because you might think it's a good idea to go on a trip to a certain place, but we have a security team that knows what's happening in the world, and they might be able to tell you, actually, it's not safe for you to travel there, and you should think about going somewhere else instead. So these forms are very important. Make sure you fill them out. It's not permission slip, but it's essential. Then we also have Crisis 24 Horizon, which was mentioned before and you probably know about already. It's an app. On the next slide, we have a picture of it. So here, there's the QR code. You can find this on Apple's Store, Google Play, anything. And you need to have this downloaded on your phone with the push notifications on and the location services on so that they can send you updates and information in case there's a natural disaster or a political issue happening. Then you can be aware of what is going on in your surroundings.
All right, and it seems strange to talk about it, but winter 2026 is just right around the corner. You'll arrive in Rome and it'll be the blink of an eye and you'll be getting ready to transition back to a very, very different place because Boston is gonna be looking an awful lot snowier than Rome come January 2026. And so to prepare you for this transition, we're going to make sure that we take note of the spring housing application. So those applications are going to be coming through around the November time. So again, students are going to need to have their eye on their inbox for prompts for these things coming in, and the housing application is going to be a big one. Something that might be of interest to some of our international students is the F1 visa. So notifications on that and that process will be coming in as well. And it's your responsibility to be in compliance. So you need to be on top of these tasks. Another important point is going to be your spring course registration. And again, you'll be talking about that this fall. So making sure that you're communicative with your advisor, knowing what your plan is for 2026. This will all be worked on when you're going through your first semester with us in Rome. So just make sure that you have your finger on the button for these action items that will make the big difference when you transition back. You'll also have to get prepared for your Husky one-on-one orientation. So you'll have done so much orientation by the time that you transition back. I mean, you'll be able to run an orientation program yourself. But you're definitely going to be a different type of student when you transition back because, again, how many times will you have done orientation? But overall, you will be a student who started off in a very particular environment where you had to adapt quite quickly and you had to make sure that your success was based on a lot more factors than maybe a student who started off in Boston. So we're aware that, you'll be starting a new experience all over again because not everybody is from Boston. And it's for this reason that we do make sure that support is in place for, when you get back. Professors know that you are coming back to Boston from a very different start to university. But let me tell you that people are not worried about you because a student who can make it work in a completely different country with a completely different language and still successfully transition back is not your average student. So I hope that can maybe help those of you who are feeling a little bit nervous about this experience to understand that this experience is going to be so rich and make so much of you even before your second semester at university.
So, what are the action steps for you as students? The first one is you need to start packing and pack smart. You might want to give yourself some time to pack because this takes a little bit of time to figure out what can fit in your suitcases and what do you really need, what is just something you want. So give yourself some time to pack things that are hard to replace, like glasses, comfortable shoes, and things that you can use in a lot of different situations, like Louise said, layers, things like that. Make sure you have all the medications you need. We want you to be healthy, so make sure you pay attention to this. Work with your academic advisors. Like I said, your schedules are being set up by your academic advisors. So if they are reaching out to you, you should respond to them, which means checking your email, which you should be doing from now on. If you have not been checking your email, check your email. It's very important and it's pretty easy to do. So just get in the habit of checking it so that you don't miss really important things. And then also learn some easy recipes. You will have a kitchen, you'll have the opportunity to cook, but also it just makes sense to cook at home. So you want to know that you know how to cook some things. It's a nice time if you're still at home, ask your family how to make some recipes, easy things, things that bring you comfort. You might get a little homesick at a certain point, so making something that you like would be a good idea. And yes, then keep your eye on your inbox.
Okay, what about some action steps for our parents? I'm sure there's some parents on this call. And for those whose parents didn't manage to join, it's good to tell them, what they can be doing in this time where I'm sure they're apprehensive and they're trying to think about all the different things that you have to do. We all have action items at this point. You want to discuss expectations with your parents, right? You want to make sure that you guys are all on the same page if that's about budgeting, if that's about communication, if that's about travel, making sure that you guys are in a good place and that you have the same expectations of each other is going to make for a much smoother semester. When it comes to communication, we always give the advice to plan a day and a time that works for you for every week as it passes. So if that's, 9 a.m. Boston time, which is 3 p.m. Rome time on a Wednesday, because you don't have a class at that time, and you guys can check in and you can dedicate 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is to each other. Honoring that appointment is really important because that makes sure that your parents have a lifeline to you. They know that everything's okay, they know everything's going well, and they don't have to worry as much as they might if they didn't hear from you. Some people are going to be talking to their parents every single day because that's their dynamic, right? That's their relationship. Others not so much, and so that's why we'll make sure that if you're talking every day or if you're not talking so much, you still have this appointment that you honor to make sure that the day that you miss the call, you have this in place so that everyone is feeling good and no one's getting calls saying I haven't heard from my student in 12 hours and they're just sleeping it off somewhere. So just make sure that you have a good plan for that, right? When it comes to budgeting, we already discussed that. That's something that you need to have in place. But when it comes also to traveling means your travel, the travel that you'll be doing throughout the semester, even though we really urge you to keep your travel local to see Italy. go to see all the different places that you can see in such a diverse peninsula like Italy. If that's Sicily, if that's up north in the Dolomites, there's so much to see. But not everyone is going to have the same rhythm here. So you need to make sure you understand what the limitations are for you. Um, I also want to refer to maybe parents coming to visit because, of course, this is the best reason to come to Italy for a trip, and we hope that you guys will come in hordes to visit students on our wonderful campus in Rome. But make sure that you make a good plan for when to come. We always say September is not a good month to visit because our students are so busy. We have so much going on. Molly mentioned at the beginning of the call, they don't have one weekend free more or less until the end of September because of all the things that we have planned to really, make the program as impactful from the very, very first day. So some people like to come in October. A lot of people like to come for Thanksgiving because that's when folks have time off. And that's when maybe our students are so settled and have that day off then as well that they can plan things, right? But just know that the things that we have in place, the dates that we have told you that are mandatory are indeed mandatory. And parents coming into town is not a reason to not be participating in these parts of the program. So we want to be super clear with people about that. We want students to be able to be clear about that with their parents. And I think also being clear if you want your parents to visit or not is also a really, really good thing to talk about because not everybody maybe wants someone to come visit, or maybe you'll get that call during the semester where you're like, I would love to see you, and you can make a plan then. But having something in place is the best idea when it comes to, yeah, this what is overall a short semester. If parents can encourage their students to keep an eye on their inbox, we would love that because we know that sometimes this is a big adjustment for high school students. Maybe they're not used to having to keep their eye on their inbox every single day and follow up with emails every single day. And a lot of students maybe don't even know how to really even write an email, right? So maybe having a little chat about that, about how that works, about how important it is, that can be really helpful for us because we want to make that sure that students are getting the information that they need when they need it. So this would do us a big favor as well. And as I said, make sure to wait for your student schedule to understand how free your student is, according also to the plans that they have ultimately made or are going to make for the semester. That concludes our presentation. I'm going to hand it over to our moderator for more information.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Louise and Molly, for providing us with so much information about the program. And thank you to everyone who's been putting Q&A questions into our Q&A. We've been frantically trying to answer all of them, and we've gotten to most of them. I'm dropping some the contact information I will add in the chat before the webinar is done. You can always call us at the phone number here or email us at nun@northeastern.edu for more information. Just to note for some themes that have been coming up around housing or fall breaks or cheesy, our health insurance policy or Husky 101, I've tried to add links into the chat for everyone in case anybody else has questions about those. But as a quick note, you will be receiving an email soon with a Know Before You Go guide that will have some detailed information with day of logistics and information that will answer any questions you have specifically about travel. In terms of visas, we have gotten some questions around visas. If you have an EU passport, you are all set and you do not need to get a visa. And if you are participating in our batch, some of these have actually been finished and mailed back to you. And then we are very optimistic that our second group of batch visas will be finished soon and on their way. I think those are the majority of our questions. One other question we've been getting a lot is around academic schedules. If at this point you should have met with your academic advisor already, and you should know what classes you're taking. And Northeastern is working with JCU right now to get that information over to their academic team and build out your academic schedule. So we've gotten a few questions around when you'll be receiving that schedule. It will be once you arrive at JCU, you'll get get the actual day-to-day of it. But at this point, you should know generally what classes you should be taking. All right. At this point, I think we're all wrapped up. If you have any questions that haven't been answered, please send us an email at nuin@northeastern.edu. We're here to answer them, and we hope you have a great rest of your day and great preparations as you head into your fall semester. Thank you all so much. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.